Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah, man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is the Doc. You see me in terms of the Sesame Street Muppet character. I like that. That was pretty cool. Appreciate that, AD. Thanks for the love. And shout out to Raymond for putting that together and putting it out there. I was surprised when I saw that. I'm a big Sesame Street fan, so I like that. With that being said, Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Welcome to episode 661 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports. For institutions large and small, from the NEIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics, to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. Quite simply, we call it HBCU sports pedagogy. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Kalilolo, along with my co-host, Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Today, Mike Washington is still out on assignment, but we have none other than AD Drew bringing it in since we're in baseball season, and it's a big weekend, and we have a couple of games that have been closed out, 2 of them. We'll get into that a little bit, and we have 1 underway now into the 4th inning or so. We'll keep you updated like we did on Tuesday with the track and field championships, which means we'll probably open up with that news because we do crown some champions. As we went off to the show, we pretty much knew where things were going, but we had a couple of races to get down and make sure things, but they end up falling out the way they are. So congratulations on in order today. But with that being said, we're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KCOA's 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that being said, Charles, we'll start with you. How are you doing today?
Doing well, Doc. Just like we did on Tuesday, I got the game pulled up here on one screen. Got notes on the other. This is kind of exciting. I kind of like this. I see my student James Malone getting the call today on this start against Bethune-Cookman. So
now that's cool.
Yeah, he had some elbow issues, but good to see him back out there on the mound.
Yeah, getting it in. Can he pull them to victory? They've had a little help on one side. Now they got to do a little bit for themselves. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But let me ask AD Drew how he's doing today.
You know, you're talking about baseball, Charles, and we getting ready for this SWAC tournament and everything else. Do you guys realize, as of today, we are 100 days from the BX SWAC Challenge?
Did not realize.
Football season, football never stops when you're an HBCU sports person.
That is true.
100 days away. Which means Media Day is really right around the corner.
Right.
Yes, 100 days from today. And, I normally don't wear my Morehouse gear on the podcast, but I've got good reason to wear it today.
Good stuff. Let me give some updates that are out there, and then I'll let you all give some news of the day. We have some baseball that's been played. In fact, we had one series that started yesterday that we did talk about on Tuesday. That was Prairie View and Alabama State. Prairie View pushed their games up because they have graduation this week. They're doing 3 graduation ceremonies, 1 on Friday and 2 on Saturday. Shout out to Cavil, former wide receiver. He's retired from that and graduating. He could come back for a graduate year. but I think he's hanging it up. He's ready to move on and start his own barbershop, what he's looking at. So he's finished his degree, kinesiology. So excited for him, the second half of the twin. So shout out to Kobe. And let me give some love to Corey as well, as he graduated last year and he's in grad school at Prairie View in their graduate MBA program. But so a lot of love for those and rest of my nieces and nephews out there, but celebrating Kobe as he will walk across the stage today. Man, these folks are learning how to get in my pocket, but I like it. It's in the way. So I sent a gift to him today. So excited about that. I'm a jet set away tomorrow as I look at spending some time as putting all the work as things are closed out. Grades are in, check box, all those things. College of Education at Texas Southern University is in good standing with the provost and the president. All our grades are in. We've done our part. So I'm gonna take a little me time, celebrate with Litz for his birthday coming up. I'm gonna dip off to Las Vegas for a quick minute, do some work out there, but make sure I catch up with him. I got a line brother out there, Brick, giving him some love. He sent me a picture today. It was an old school picture that went back to Charles, you, and Mike and I when we did the show live on campus as Prairie View opened up the stadium against Texas Southern in the Labor Day Classic. So he said he was just flipping through some photos and saw that, sent it to me. So that kind of brought back some cool memories. As we were one of the first that got out there and did it like that for HBCU Sports for sure. So did a game day feature. A lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff as we get that done. But with that being said, Prairie View played yesterday. Probably let one get away. The one that they're probably going to get is that Friday, your first starter goes deep. They put up a lot of runs. They were down 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, 2-2, went down 5-2, tied at 5-5, got to 7-5, 7-7. Then they got the 10-7. They were able to put 2 runs in the bottom of the ninth, but not get that last one in the tie. So they lose 10-9. So that puts them in the hole. They had an early game today, so they have already played 2. Today was a shutout. 10 rule, shortened game, 7 innings. They lost 11-0. So Prairie View's in the hole. They're literally at 500. So if we're looking at things just straight up now, they would be out of the tournament. Obviously, Texas Southern has to put in some work, but 0-0 for them. Interesting things. If they can find a way to scratch one, Prairie View loses, they actually jump into the 8th seed. But all things considered, just like that. Also, Alabama A&M and Arkansas Pine Bluff started today. They're finished. Pine Bluff has notched another win, so they solidify themselves in terms of their seeding and trying to find a way to sit up. They are in the tournament now. Remember, we said they had to get at least one in to make the 80% rule. They are in now in terms of playing 80%, and they are certainly in the top 8. They beat Alabama A&M, the Bulldogs, 3-0. Got to imagine Alabama A&M may be searching for a baseball coach. We'll see what that looks like. Coach was interim. Enough, we'll see.
Got an idea.
Dr. Bryant may decide to do. So it'll be interesting to see what that look in. We do have a Grambling, Mississippi Valley game. They started first early in the game, 0-0 in terms of that matchup. We'll see if we can keep you updated and get you maybe some early scores there. Texas Southern Bethune-Cookman, 4 inning and it's 0-0. So that's interesting to see what that looks like. Shout out to G Boom. Good evening, gents. And thanks again for the Muppet. And we open the show with that. G Boom to show you some love in terms of what you put out there. Thank you for keeping the magic and keeping us going on. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I sent that to my son, and he just he had feelings. He thought that cool. I got to find a way to see if I can make me a real one of those. Or I guess it's not real, but you know, a physical one. Put it that way. So, gentlemen, I've talked enough. Open up this segment. We'll spread it out a little bit. Let's take our first break. We'll come back on the other side. Let you all get into some news of the day. Talking about some of these champions. So let's take our first break and come back on the other side.
At AutoMasters LLC, Our mission is to serve our community by providing quality automobiles at affordable prices. All of our vehicles are inspected and certified to offer you the confidence in knowing you have a quality vehicle. Our goal is to provide you with a seamless process and positive experience for your automobile purchase. Financing recommendations and specific vehicle inquiries are available at your request. You can find us at www.automasters06.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Also, please feel free to contact Terrence Miles at 601-927-7794. And oh yeah, tell him Sonia sent you.
Greetings, Panthers. My name is Roland Austin, and I'm one of the directors at the 1876 Athletic Foundation. The 1876 Athletic Foundation was formed to promote the success of all 343 student athletes. Our overall goal is to fund scholarships for all of our student athletes. We ask that you help us in achieving this goal by donating to the 1876 Athletic Foundation via the QR code below or 1876.foundation. Your generous donation will help us continue to assist the needs of all of our Panther athletes. Thanks, and go Panthers.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Charles Bishop and A.D. Drew. With that being said, let's jump right back into it, Charles. What's some of the hot news of the day? What's on your mind?
Yeah, well, let's start here. And I think this press conference happened in Houston, actually on yesterday. But the 2025 National Battle of the Bands, they've released their 2025 lineup. And Dr. Cavil, here are the performers. This is who will be coming into Houston. The Alabama A&M University Marching Maroon and White, the Alabama State Marching Rams Show Band, the Florida A&M Marching 100.
Wait a minute. Why your tone changed when you said that, man?
I wanted to give a little dramatic.
That wasn't dramatic. That was like disappointment.
No, not at all. I'm looking
He said it wasn't dramatic. It was dramatic.
Yeah, I get some loud fast songs. Yeah, and I'll get to catch the
That's supposed to be the great Florida A&M Marching 100.
Hey, that means they got one national champion in it.
They do. Marching 100. They will be making their way to Houston. The Jackson State Sonic Boom of the South.
They will be making their
way. Yeah, they will be making their way to Houston.
2 years in a row of finalists for National Band of the Year.
I know. Oh, catch this. Langston University, the Marching Pride. They will be coming to Houston for the Battle of the Bands. The North Carolina A&T State University Blue and
they got
Gold
2 national champions.
Marching Machine will be coming to the Battle of the Bands. And rounding things out, homegrown, Prairie View A&M, the Marching Storm, and the Texas Southern University Ocean of Soul. So we got a nice lineup. National Battle of the Bands. Looking forward to this.
Albany State jumped in there.
No Norfolk this year. No
MEAC.
Yeah.
Independent, 5, SWAC, if I'm counting it right, SIAC, and independent in terms of Talladega.
Mm-hmm.
Nice lineup. Shout out to Derek Weber getting it done. With that being said, let me go to you, Drew. What's on your mind?
Charles, you talk about press conferences. I'm going to be hosting one on Monday. As you know, I sent you guys the proverbial white smoke announcing that we finally got a coach at Morehouse. And our 14th head basketball coach, his name is Larry Dixon. And I released this it's kind of hard talking about a story that I released as news of the day without sounding self-promoting. But anyway, the Morehouse Athletic Department released on.
You got to do what you got to do, man.
Naming Larry Dixon as the 14th head coach in program history, a milestone that moves a significant new chapter for the Maroon Tigers. Dixon, a veteran coach with ties to North Carolina State, brings over 2 decades of experience at the collegiate level and becomes the first head coach outside the Arthur McAfee coaching tree to lead the program since, check this out, y'all, 1965. All of our coaches that come from the coaching tree. We are thrilled to welcome Coach Dixon to the Morehouse family. Said Harold Ellis, Director of Athletics at Morehouse College. Larry's a championship coach, having coached on all collegiate levels, and he brings a wealth of experience, a proven commitment to student-athlete development, and a fresh perspective that aligns with our missions to achieve excellence both on and off the court. I'm gonna give you the schools. He was on the coaching staff of the North Carolina State team that went to the Final Four 2 years ago. Other schools he has coached at include South Florida, Georgia Southern, Winthrop, Eastern Carolina, South Carolina State, and St. Andrews College. And he is a graduate of Johnson C. Smith University. So a couple other things I want to point out. I said he is the 60-year lineage. He is only the 5th coach since World War II to coach Morehouse. Frank Ford coached him from 1945 to 1965. Arthur McAfee from 1966 to 2000. Grady Brewer from 2000 to 2021. And Douglas Whitler from 2021 through 2025. And that press conference will be streamed live on YouTube. And actually will be streamed live here on the Black College Sports Network Monday at 10 o'clock Eastern from Forbes Arena in Atlanta, Georgia.
Wow. Nice stuff. Nice stuff there. Let me go back to you, Charles. What other news of the day do you have?
Yeah, well, we have to give kudos to Texas Southern as they claim the SWAC Men's Outdoor Track and Field Championship. The Texas Southern Tigers claim the 2025 SWAC Men's Outdoor Track and Field Championship title with standout individual performances. I want to give kudos to Jackson State's Godfrey Kimatai, who was named the 2025 SWAC Men's Outdoor Track and Field Most Outstanding Track Performer. Texas Southern's Jalen Walker claimed the Most Outstanding Field Performer honors. And then Texas Southern's head coach, the living legend himself, Clyde Duncan, he was named SWAC Men's Outdoor Track and Field Coach of the Year after leading Texas Southern to titles in cross country, along with indoor track and field and the outdoor track and field. So kudos to Texas Southern. Texas Southern claimed back-to-back trifectas in league competition in the sports of men's cross country, men's indoor track and field, and men's outdoor track and field. Texas Southern led all teams in the competition with 136 points. Jackson State claimed 125 points, finishing in second place. And Alabama State, they finished in third place, amassing 93 points.
Man, I watched that going home. It was fascinating to see how it went down. I started texting Granger. I said, 11 points, man, it's done. Granger was still focused. He didn't quite get
we gonna get this first place.
Hold on. I won't. So that was pretty cool. Shout out to Texas University. Coach Clyde Duncan, senior, 6 in a row. And when you start looking at cross country, indoor championship, outdoor championship, he swept it last year. He comes back with the big broom and gets it done. So that's back-to-back years. That means 6 in a row. Fascinating to see. Shout out to Clyde Duncan. And then his son was actually on the call. And that is Dr. Clyde Duncan Jr., who is also a professor at Texas Southern University. So that was fascinating in the School of Communication. Makes sense since he's doing the call of track field when he does his famous clap it up, clap. Bring him home, bring him in. So that's pretty fascinating how he gets it done. And he's really internationally, certainly nationally known doing track meet calls all over. So family affair there. They bring home a championship to Texas Southern University. Talking about a championship, Drew, I know you're excited about this.
Yeah, I'm excited. Of course, I'm excited about the FAMU one, but I do have to get this note before I get into that one, Dr. Cavil. Let's give a shout out to the Aggies, Aggie Pride. I know you mentioned it earlier, who won the CAA Outdoor Championship. The more things change, the more things remain the same when it comes to North Carolina A&T track. On the men's side, they accumulated 177 points. Monmouth finished second with 141. William and Mary finished third with 115 points. And on the women's side in the CAA, Dr. Cavil, how about Hampton They took second. Elon took first at 147. But y'all HBCUs, I don't know why we let y'all in and think y'all couldn't run and throw and jump and everything else, because on the women's side, Hampton took second at 122, A&T third at 102. So just wanted to give them a shout out. Doc, I did enough self-gloating about my current school. I think I'm gonna let you do my former school. How about that?
I was gonna give you the love. You can go ahead and do FAMU. I do want to say this before I go back to you and let you do FAMU women, because I think it's a big deal. First championship in track and field is bookended with the men at Texas Southern getting it done. So you got Texas representing, where we know a lot of speed there, and we always talk about Florida with a lot of speed, and they do it on the women's side. So I think that's pretty cool to see that, and then the fact that they get it done in the SWAC. So now they have multiple track and field championships in multiple conferences. Can't everybody say that? But to your point, in the CIA, where you see the women in both Hampton and A&T, I should say, at the top 2 and 3, that's a bit of an upset in terms of Elon getting it done. Hampton was projected to come in and win that. So it'd be interesting to kind of follow up and see how that went. But certainly shout out to A&T men who were projected to win it, and they lived up to it to get it done. So good stuff there. But go back to you, Drew. Go ahead and put it out there. Who won the women's SWAC outdoor championship?
See, y'all Tigers can't do nothing like this. You know, y'all don't have. Y'all don't have.
That is correct.
Like that. Anyway,
that is correct.
He said no.
Florida A&M Rattlers claimed the 2025 SWAC outdoor championship with several impressive individual performances. Let's see. PV's Kiona Otis was named the 2025 SWAC Women's Outdoor Track and Field Most Outstanding Field Performer, and Florida A&M's Ariana Latson claimed the Most Outstanding Track Performer honors. Florida A&M head coach Garfield Ellenwood II was named the SWAC Women's Outdoor Championship Coach of the Year after leading FAMU to its first SWAC Outdoor Track and Field Championship. The Rattlers led all teams with 127.5 points. Alabama State claimed 124.5 points, finishing in second place. Southern finished third with 105.5 points. And Doc, I want to shout out Brian Fulford. I was watching you guys on Tuesday, and the way he was actually able to break this down and project and tell you the key races to watch as they were coming up. Doc, that was some of the best live coverage of an event that you're just monitoring that I have seen you guys do. And and Brian gave you those 2-3 key races that we all needed to look at down the stretch on the women's side, and his predictions came true. If FAMU does this, they'll win it. If Alabama State does this, they'll be in control. So good job to my Sunday partner Brian Fulford for doing that.
Good stuff. And shout out Charles as he jumped back into it and gave some additional notes. It was funny going back. I've never had that experience. We never had that opportunity because usually the races on the weekend, and obviously we don't do a show on the weekend. And it timed out perfectly where you had enough points to really know where it was down to in terms of the final day. And you had a couple more events so we could give those updates. And when you added the projective finish in terms of where they were standing and seeing it fluctuate from race to race, both on the men's and women's side, it was fascinating. So I appreciate that you acknowledged that and saw that, because that's exactly what we wanted to. And it was one of those things that just happened to work out. We have an update over there.
Yeah, I got a couple quick updates. This Texas Southern and Bethune-Cookman, they're going to the top of the sixth now. But Jeter Polito just homered to center field for Bethune-Cookman. So 2-0 Bethune-Cookman on top of Texas Southern. And then Jackson State and Southern. Jackson State still batting in the bottom of the first. They put up 3 in the bottom of the inning. 3-1 is the score in Jackson with Jackson State and Southern. I got both games up over here. So.
It's going to be interesting. It's long, a lot more innings. But, boy, thus far, gonna be interesting to see how that kind of plays out.
I wonder with the Jackson State Southern game, if both teams wind up going to the pen a lot in this particular ball game, because you already got 4 runs in the first inning, how that's going to affect the rest of this series. Just something to think about.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great update. If you would bring up the slide, and we'll continue to talk a little bit about that, because I want to get the rankings up there as you all talk about that. If you bring up this slide, I think it's slide 7. That'll bring you that, and then we'll come back into it a little more and come back to you, Charles, and get your thoughts on terms of what that looks like, so we can tell people how important this is in regards to those matchups. Currently,
just real quick, what's kind of funny, just taking a look at the stats so far, but just it caught my eye. Cameron McCoy, of course, he transferred to Southern, but he's on the Jackson State baseball bench right now. So I was just just caught my eye. I was like, huh.
That's what happened. So Southern is in the 6th spot, sitting at 15-11, 577, no problem. And Jackson State is in the 7th spot, 14-12. So this goes a long way in terms of those matchups. And so obviously Bethune-Cookman's at the top. They need a win to put themselves in position to get into it. So it's fascinating when you start talking about these matchups and these scores and just how big these games are. And the fact that you have some games being played early or not goes a long way in terms of what that looks like. So you see the picture we brought up there in terms of those matchups. That was last year. In terms of the ballpark, giving you some insight there. But these are your standings, and they're updated in terms of for Prairie View and Alabama State. That includes the 2 games that have been played. Pine Bluff, I can give you an update there that they now improved to 15-9. So they sit at 625, I should say, in the conference standings. And so that's fascinating to see what that looks like. Let's go back to those standings, and then we'll go a little bit through that as we get into it. So you see Bethune-Cookman and why that game is important in terms of that half a game that was not played last week and they're on the road creates a scenario. Bethune-Cookman needs to stay a game in front of FAMU. FAMU has that matchup that you were just showing, Drew, in terms of them going down and playing in Alcorn State. So you believe that the Braves are having struggled this season. So you got to believe FAMU is going to find a way to get 3, which means Bethune-Cookman needs to get these wins, but it's so important for Texas Southern. So they got to find a way to keep it in striking distance. They did early in the first 4 innings to keep it scoreless. They still have it within some distance, but they've struggled of late to put some runs on the board. So you never know. 2 runs might be enough to do it, but it's going to be fascinating to see what that looks like.
FAMU should sweep
these matchups. Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Alabama A&M. That first game went final. We told you about that. Charles just told you Southern and Jackson State, Texas Southern, Bethune-Cookman. So, boy, it is all over the place. Go ahead, Drew. What were you going to jump in there and say?
I was saying there's no reason FAMU doesn't sweep, and there's no reason Arkansas Pine Bluff doesn't get a sweep. Right. And Grambling could really use the sweep to solidify their spot, but Grambling is definitely should be winning that series.
To your point, let's go to those slides where we have projections in terms of where folks are. Let's go with that first one. Bethune-Cookman and FAMU, as you're alluding to. If they both sweep, well, FAMU sweeps, they're at 800, which puts them in position if Texas Southern is able to get 2 games, which means Bethune-Cookman would go 1-2 on this series, which means they would ultimately fall to 23-6, while FAMU, if they win all 3, would improve to 24-6. So you would have a 800 winning percentage versus a 793. Obviously, as I'm teaching my son in the 5th grade, understanding greater and lesser than in terms of percentages. Charles, test question, FAMU at 800 is greater or lesser than Bethune-Cookman at 793.
They would be greater than. So.
Nice to know that stat class.
It sound like Deuce. That's how Deuce says it too. Good job. I appreciate you. That means I'm doing a little something home right in terms of making sure that he's getting that. So yeah, that's your point. So that's what's interesting there. Let's slide to 2 more slides down, get a little further into it before we take this first break and
So
really get into the matchups.
I do have a question. So as far as looking at this 8th slot, trying to get into the tournament, right now as of today, Prairie View is sitting outside of the tournament.
Go ahead and go to that last grouping, that Prairie View. You can go there.
Oop, went too far.
Yeah, right there. So to your point, they're 0-2. So currently they're at 500, right?
Okay.
So they slide behind. If we go back to the standings,
Oops.
no, take your time. That's good. Yeah. There. So if you go to the standings, right?
Yeah.
Texas Southern is sitting at 519.
Gotcha.
The Prairie View came in at 500, and now they slid back down to that Mendizzle line. So they're below. That's where they are. That's the current standing, sitting at 13-13. So they're at 500. That would put them below Texas Southern, sitting at 519. Obviously, if Texas Southern loses this game, they would be at 500. So they literally would be tied at the end of the day. So going down the stretch, it's going to be fascinating as we kind of keep up this.
So 6, 7, 8 are really up for grabs and could finish in any order, especially with Jackson State and Southern heads up against each other this weekend.
That's correct. That is absolutely correct, where it gets fascinating. Let's take our next break and come back on the other side. We'll dive a little bit more into that in terms of some more matchups. We'll give you some continued updates as they come in and talk about why this last weekend is exciting. If you're a baseball fan, you're looking at your seedings. On the top of the other side, we'll actually show you the brackets in terms of how they come out this year. Those that have followed SWAC over the last decade know that we have the East and West. And you would have your number 1 team in the West play the number 4 team in the East, and you see vice versa in terms of the number 1 team in the East play the number 4 team in the West. And you would flip that between the 2 and 3 seeds. So the 2 seed in the West would play the 3 seed in the East. Vice versa, you would have the 2 seed in the East play the 3rd seed in the West. But that changes up a little bit. And when we come back on the other side, we'll show you those updated brackets with all 8 teams and what that looks like. So let's take our next break, come back on the other side, see those brackets, get your thoughts, and got a little surprise. We'll do the lineup for the A bracket in terms of the current standings as of Tuesday. Stick.
It's like a loot machine. All around town, people trying to get down. It's like a loot machine.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia from She Say Sports. Make sure to check us out every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on Black College Sports Network, YouTube, and Linktree. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Before we get back into it, Charles, do you have us some updates? And if you do, where from?
Yeah, let's start out with Texas Southern. They moved now to the top of the seventh inning. Still 2-0 Bethune-Cookman over Texas Southern. Got to give it up to Edward Sanchez, 4-hitter through 6 2/3 for Bethune-Cookman. And Southern down still 3-1. We're moving now to the bottom of the second as Jackson State threw out a runner at third, nabbed a runner at third to get out of the inning. So 3-1 going to the bottom of the second. Jackson State on top of Southern.
Ooh, boy, that's gonna be a good, like you said. But if we had the private jet, we'd be doing the show from the stands for that matchup.
Man,
as we get our weight up, we will look at those things.
10-4.
Exactly. With that being said, let's get in here and look at this bracket. Let's give you this new bracket in terms of what this will look like. It still has the same format in terms of that. And I know it's a little bit small in terms of your visuals, but we'll have the next one. But let me do this first before we go into the projected of what we see, which will update a little bit. So in this format, you have 1 versus 8 in that bracket A. That used to be, again, that would be 1 in the East versus 4 in the West in terms of that matchup. Now it is 1 overall, and then 8 in terms of the bottom coming in. Then you have, in terms of that matchup, you will have your 3 seed versus your 6 seed in the A bracket. So it's going to be interesting to see who goes in the A bracket. And while that's fascinating with these matchups, as you all know, you don't switch over to the B bracket. All you're going to face are your teams in your A bracket. It is double elimination to get out of that A bracket to play against the champions in the B bracket. The B bracket features the 2 seed overall versus the 7 seed in that third game of the day, basically would be, or game 2, I should say, actually. And then you have the 4-5 matchup. Right, we're going to get into this next slide, which will tell you what that looks like there. But before we do that, I want to ask you all your thoughts in terms of this format. We'll start with you, Charles, in terms of what is essentially a new format. It still creates the bracket A and bracket B, which I've liked, but it's different in terms of now you have it seeded 1 through 8 with 1 and 8 and 3 and 6 in that A bracket, which 2 and 7 and 4 and 5 in the B bracket. What are your thoughts?
Let me ask this question. So if we look at it, everybody has not played in a crossover game. Like we should have stats going in for everybody at least having a game or 1 or 2 against an opponent or not.
Multiple, because everybody played 10 of the 11 games. So you played everybody on what was your side of the bracket. So you play those 5 teams.
Okay.
Right. And then that means you're playing 5 teams in the other bracket.
Okay.
What was formerly East. So yes, there's been multiple crossover games in terms of what this looks like.
See, I like this format because now I get to see what exactly has happened with some matchups, especially when you start looking at pitching matchups, or especially to see what pitchers have done if they have gotten into games against a lineup. So now you at least have something to kind of look at where it's not new in terms of because that's one of the questions I ask a coach every year in terms of what it is that they see out of this team. And, one of the things is always, it's our first time taking a look at them. We do our advanced scouting and things of that nature, but we really haven't seen them. But now at least you have something that you can kind of base, a matchup on, and it gives you more strategy, I think. So I love it. I love the fact that they've seen each other now.
Good comments. Good stuff. Drew, what are your thoughts in terms of this format, how it's aligned? 1 versus 8. 3 versus 6, That's 2 versus 7 and 4 versus 5. The first 4 I talked about in bracket A, the last 4 in bracket B.
First of all, and Doc, this is the easiest way for people to chew on this bracket format. It is 2 independent 4-team double elimination tournaments.
Yeah.
Bracket A is 1 14 tournament. Bracket B is 1 14 tournament. And what happens is the 2 tournament champions, the bracket A champion and the bracket B champion, face each other in a 1-game playoff.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the easiest way to digest this, instead of trying to figure out why people don't cross and who go where and all that stuff. It's 2 separate 14 brackets, everybody.
That's
right.
what it is. I like that.
With a 1-game playoff at the end. Now, getting back to your question, kind of piggybacking off of what Charles said, it is good that these teams will face each other. But for those teams that you haven't faced, if you should have to cross them in a tournament, at least there's an opportunity that you can have data against a team that you have played that has played them. So, and I don't know who hasn't played who in particular, but if you played team B but did not play C, but B played C, and you know how you played B, now you have at least something to kind of reference as far as what it's going to take to beat that team based upon the style of play that you needed to beat that other team. So, it just helps. And Lord Jesus, now we don't have to witness a team like we did in softball having to play the same opponent 8 times in one season.
Right. Point well taken. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Man.
I'm gonna go to you, Charles, to get your updates because I know something taking place and I want to hear it because it's killing us. But Drew, as he's doing that, bring up the bracket A with the teams as of the Tuesday standing. Charles, what you got for us in terms of your update?
Yeah, quick update. Jackson State had runners on first and third as Jordan McClatty hit a shot down the line, but the next batter up grounds into the 6-4-3 double play. Southern gets out the inning, so we move now to the top of the third. Pitcher's best friend.
2 for 1 before the terrace.
Yeah.
So true. So let's bring up that bracket A. So bracket A currently, this is what we come into this weekend with. Obviously, things have changed, and we talked about that in the second segment based on those scores today. But we won't update that because they'll change, obviously, with more games to be played. But currently, you would have a 1 versus 8, which would be Bethune-Cookman versus Prairie View. You would have a 3 versus 6, which would be Alabama State and Southern. Charles, I'm going to stay with you. What are your thoughts in terms if things work out this way? What gets you excited about this bracket A in terms of how things will follow up? Again, I know some things are likely to change, but just talk us through it as we look at it now. What are your thoughts in terms of what would be bracket A in week 9 of the standings?
The pitching matchups, to see what teams that are traditional hitting teams that can do against some good pitching. That always fascinates me. And then inevitably, Dr. Cavil, you always have a game where you don't see a bad pitch, where you see a pitching performance that kind of throws you off, and all of a sudden a team that was favored now all of a sudden they're in a dogfight, and sometimes they find themselves in that losers bracket. So it inevitably happens to 1 or 2 teams every tournament. And that's what kind of fascinates me going into the tournament to see, because to me, even just taking a look at teams coming into Texas Southern this season, the parity is there. I don't see a huge, drop off from Bethune-Cookman to the number 8 seed. So even taking a look at it today, James Malone, who hadn't pitched in probably a month, he's going toe to toe with that tough Bethune-Cookman lineup today. So I think you're gonna get some surprises going into this tournament coming up this Tuesday.
Drew, I know you're a big thinker in terms of sometimes when these games are played. So currently in this matchup, like that Bethune-Cookman Prairie View, it's a 9 o'clock game. It's a 9 a.m. game. Does that throw off anything based on some of the Charles talked about, how maybe a team may be a little sluggish, even though they're the number 1 seed, for example, or vice versa, 3 versus 6 team Southern that obviously is going to get up for a tournament position? What are your thoughts in terms of bracket A?
Oh, yes, it definitely throws it off. And this is kind of going to overlap into the bracket B discussion, but the number 1 seed does not have the favor of the conference when it comes to the scheduling. That actually goes to the team in bracket B, so which would be the number 2 seed, because your number 1
at noon, yeah.
Number 1 seed plays game 1 at 9:00. Yes, they win that game. They get maximum rest because they don't play till 3:00 on day 2, 3:00 on day 3. But then they would come back.
Friday at 3 if they win.
If there's an if game, they come back shorter rest because they will play at 12:00 if game. Yeah. Now let's go to bracket B, and I know I'm kind of skipping ahead.
That's fine.
The number 2 seed, 12:00. They win. They go to 6:00. They win that one. They stay at 6:00, and if there's an if game, they've got the late if game at 3:00. The biggest disadvantage would be if they have to come out that if game and play in the championship game, because they'd be going on shorter rest. But honestly, I think that the number 2 seed, schedule-wise, should they handle business, has an advantage over the number 1 seed. First of all, 12:00 is closer to a normal game time that these kids are used to playing anyway. Right. Normally on a Saturday or a Sunday, you're probably going to be playing at 12:00. Yeah, we know the Friday night is usually your 6:00 game or 5:00 game, 7:00 game. But those afternoon games, that's more of a natural time. Now, the team that gets screwed is in that 3-6. Don't lose at 3-6, because now you got to come back 9:00 in the morning. If you're in that 3-6 game, you got to come back 9:00 in the morning, and you stuck in that 9:00 bracket for the rest of the doggone tournament. So bracket B, scheduling wise, has all of the, and I guarantee you, when they get to the summer meetings, Dr. Cavil, they're going to discuss this and say that the number 1 seed, wherever it is, should be in that what we looking at this year as bracket B.
Good stuff. Let's take our next break. Before we do that, Charles, we got any updates going into this break?
Texas Southern just put a man on first. They're batting here in the top of the 7th inning. Damian Garcia's on first, and Jaden Flores is at the plate right now. Still no outs on top of the 7th. So you got Flores, Jubert, and Tyler Lejeune who coming up. All of those players are 0 for 2. Edwin Sanchez, he's at his pitch count. He's at 80. Has a 5-hitter through coming into the 7th.
Somebody said Norfolk State will be in a celebration mode. Like they have for the last 9. Boy, y'all not nice. With that being said, we'll take our next break. We'll come back and talk about the B brackets. And we'll tell you what that lineup would look like currently, and think about some of the time slots to see, based on Drew's framework, who has the biggest advantage. We'll talk a little more what they may be on the other side in our last segment.
Planning an event? From weddings to corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC brings over 15 years of experience to make your vision a reality. Based in Metro Atlanta and serving statewide, even internationally, we provide versatile event planning and authentic catering cuisines tailored to your needs. Whether it's pre-game meals for student athletes, fundraisers, weddings, corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC is your one-stop solution for exceptional service and unforgettable food. Our diverse culinary heritage means we cater to all cultural taste, dietary needs, and food restrictions, making every meal uniquely yours. let's make your next event unforgettable. Visit us on all social media at CMJ Events LLC or email us at cmjeventsllc@gmail.com. Also give us a call at 404-664-3882 so that we can start planning now.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU Sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
When you're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics, there's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Ville with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. It looks like we have an update, and it may not be good in terms of what Charles has to say. Charles?
Well, failed pickoff attempt, giving away extra outs. So Southern was able to score on a run. They had runners on first and third. So that failed pickoff attempt was able to bring in that runner. Score now is 3-2. And it looks as though Southern just flied out. So Jackson State gets out of the inning without any further damage. But 3-2 as we go to the bottom of the third.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Let's get into this B bracket. In terms of when you say the B bracket, this is where we talked about the 2 versus the 7 seed, the 4 versus the 5, as Drew discussed, thinking that maybe this has maybe a little more favorable time with that first game being at noon. It would feature FAMU against Jackson State in terms of 2 versus 7, based on what the standings were coming into this weekend. And then you have a 4 versus 5, which is Grambling against Arkansas Pine Bluff. A couple of things I noticed, gentlemen, is the fact you still would have basically 4 teams in from what was the West and 4 teams what was from the East. Unique thing, unlike in the first bracket where you did get those matchups, which teams that were formerly from the opposing divisions, in this bracket, if things stay the same, you would actually get first games that feature teams that were in the same division, which is different. You wouldn't see this in the former format. So you get a big rivalry that's come to be in terms of championships, at least on the women's side of sports, which is Florida A&M and Jackson State in terms of that 12 o'clock matchup, 2 versus 7. And then you get a Grambling State versus Arkansas Pine Bluff. Big for Arkansas Pine Bluff. They hadn't necessarily been able to get in the tournament, but this sees them in the tournament. But they face against the Grambling team they played a couple of weeks ago, where they lost 2 out of 3. So fascinating when you think about it from that perspective. I'm going to stick with you, Drew, and get your thoughts. You already talked about, obviously, the advantage potentially from the time. But what are your thoughts if things stay the same in these matchups, particularly where you would have 2 teams coming out of what was the same division playing each other, just like East and just like West, from Grambling State and Arkansas Pine Bluff? Any thoughts there? Or are you going in a different direction with this bracket?
Well, what do you see with that is the matchups that we have typically seen in the second round You're not seeing them in the first round where you have East on East and West on West. Under the old format, we never saw this in the first round. It was always day 2 when we saw those. Now you see, you got the opportunity to see some of those day 1. What I want to focus on, Dr. Cavil, and I just now noticed this as you were talking about the brackets, is the seeding is not traditional. Normally, you would put 1 and 8 and 4 and 5 in the same bracket,
right?
And 2, 7, 3, 6 in the same bracket, and they didn't do that. They mixed up the seeding. So once again, Dr. Cavil, in a potential championship game, should the seedings hold your 2 versus your 4 in bracket B, in theory, it should be more advantageous for your 2 than your 1 versus your 3 in the opposite bracket. So once again,
why?
Because usually when you play a bracket out, is usually you play with the number 1 seed playing the weakest. So if you played this out and you had 1 plays out, they would play 4, and you would have 2 versus 3.
Yes, in the championship games,
in the semifinals, right? Because
Yeah.
you always play it where the 1 plays the lowest remaining seed. That's usually how brackets fall out. In this case, as Drew was alluding to, and I didn't catch this, is a great point, is if things play out with the top 2 seeds out of each bracket coming out, your top 2 seeds out of A would be 1 and 3, versus usually it would be 1 and 4. So you get a 1 and 3, and then the B bracket you get 2 versus 4,
and just based on that,
versus 3.
Yeah, and based on that, your 3 seed should be a better team than your 4 seed.
Correct.
Just based on the record. And if I'm Bethune, what I want to see Alabama State to get to the championship game, or Grambling, or whoever winds up. Who's 4 right now, Dr. Cavil? Grambling, and is there a chance for who was 5? Because I know there was a chance for somebody to catch Grambling. Yeah, I mean, if I'm FAMU, I definitely want to see either Grambling or Pine Bluff, much rather than I want to see Alabama State, who I'm really supposed to be seeing.
That's very true.
I'm just saying, and this is the first time I'm really looking at this deep, Dr. Cavil. FAMU don't need to be Bethune. FAMU need to stay right where they at in that number 2, because we have at least number 2 locked up. We cannot fall to 3. We can't get to 1, but we don't need to get to 1. We need to stay right there at the number 2 seed and go ahead and roll the dice and take our chances, man.
I love it. Great stuff. Charles, based on that new updated knowledge, which is the traditional way you see brackets. For example, like you said, you have a 1 versus 8. If you go back and think about what took place in basketball with the lineups, you have 1 versus 8, and then the next matchup would be the 4-5.
Yeah.
The 4 should beat the 5, the 1 should beat the 8, so you get a 1 versus 4 matchup, right? Based on seeding. Yeah. And the same thing in the other bracket, which is 2 versus 7, a 3 versus 6. The 2 should beat the 7, the 3 should beat the 6, so you get a 2-3 matchup, right? And that's what you're not seeing a line up here. So good breakdown in terms of catching that. Charles?
It's baseball. I just don't see it playing out perfect. I see it.
No, I don't think it'll play out perfect. But,
I see it
but the fact is, that's the way it's lined up. So.
Yeah, that's the way it's lined up. It's just I'm applying too much logic to it, so that
and logic and baseball do not go together.
Yeah, they go
not
together.
Tournament time. Not in tournament time.
Yeah, that's
and shout out to Sneaker Talk trying to slide in the back of the room, man. We gonna put that grade on you, that F squared in you, but you better make us some assignments. I'm gonna talk to Charles. Make sure you turn in an assignment there. Charles, as we start to close things up, great dialogue. Give us some updates before we get some final thoughts.
Yeah, pretty tough for Texas Southern. They had runners on first and second, but Alex Diaz struck out to end the inning. So now We're in the bottom of the 7th inning, and James Malone is giving way after 96 pitches. Kewan Brazil is now on the mound for Texas Southern. But Malone, he went 6 innings. He gave up 6 hits. 7 hits on 2 runs. So Kewan Brazil, who's gotten some Saturday starts for Texas Southern. So they're going with another starter arm here on the mound for Texas Southern, still down 2-0. And then we take a look at Jackson State. That score is still 3-2 with Jackson State with a runner on first and third, looks like here for Jackson State. We got runners on first and third, 1 out in the inning. So Jackson State knocking on the door. Joseph Eichelberger sitting on third, and Letty Alvarez on first for the Tigers.
Stuff, good updates. Should be interesting. You got the updates, you got the lineup, you see how tight these things are, you see how they may play out in terms of seeding. All this is great talk, but at the end of the day, the games will be played, and we will find out this weekend with the release of things, probably Saturday evening or certainly by Sunday, which you'll get to hear from Brian and AD, their final breakdown analysis of what the brackets actually are and who are they handicapping, particularly Brian. He'll give you some leverage in case that you think about spending some coin. We don't advertise that, but just in case you do, you'll get some information in terms of at least what that looks like. And it's always, if anything else, entertaining. Last thing, I will just give an update here in terms of this closeout weekend. It'll be interesting to see who's going to ultimately end up with that great prize in terms of those players of the year. You'll get that update going into the week. That probably will not be released till the first of the week. You have your new rankings come out of Black College Nines in terms of what that looks like. But in terms of batting average, top 5. Kelton Phillips, 379. Amar Donato, 381. In the 3 slot is Trey Rutledge. He continues to do his thing. He's dipped down a little bit under 400. He's at 397. You have Juan Cruz that stays above 400. He's at 4.2 in the 2 slot. And Cardell Thibodeau, 455, monster at the bat. We've seen him up and close here in Houston. He is the real deal. But look what he's doing in terms of home runs. Was top at number 5. You got a Prairie View Panther that has jumped in the mix. Landon Williams with 12. He's tied with the Texas Southern Tiger coming out of the state of Texas. Damian Garcia with 12. And then you got 2 Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. Jesus Venegas at 14. Then Andre Martinez with 16. But guess who's at the top of the leaderboards in home runs? Southern University's Cardell Thibodeau. In terms of stolen bases, the 5 slot goes to Jacoby Ratcliffe with 30. Bethune-Cookman Sergio Rivera, 31, is in the 4th slot. And number 3 is Trey Rutledge, 34. He remains talent that he is. In the 2 slot, Texas Southern's Bryce Hughes with 44, and he's tied in the number 1 slot with the Jackson State Tiger, Jordan McClatty, also with 44. In terms of wins, the 5 slot right now is Eric Elliott with 6. We have 2 Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, Tanner Bacabello with 7, Edwin Sanchez with 8, who is tied with a Rattler sitting in that spot with Garrett Workman, also with 8. At the top of the ledger, let you know how Southern certainly has improved. Nick Luckett with 9 wins on the season. ERA, we're going to start out with 2 Rattlers in that 5th and 4th slot. Carson Kelly, 3.88, and Garrett Workman, 372, 5 and 4 respectively. At number 3, Bethune-Cookman is Edwin Sanchez at 343. At number 2, Kenny Fabian at 329. ERA, Jackson State, Eric Elliott at 285. And I'm going right to you, Charles. Let me finish the strikeouts. 5 is Renard Grace at 69. Number 4 is Edwin Sanchez at 71. Johan LaBoy, Alabama State Hornet at 72 strikeouts. And 2 Jackson State Tigers, Eric Elliott at 83, and Eric Gonzalez at 86. Charles, give us that last update before we close things out.
Yeah, Jackson State, they played it around here in the bottom of 3rd inning, 4-2. Now it's a score, but the bases are loaded for Jackson State. Still only 1 out. Get this, Dr. Cavil. Every hitter in the Jackson State lineup has at least 1 hit, but Tyshawn Petty. Jackson State, 10 of 13 at the plate, batting 769 early in this game. So they've been knocking the cover off the ball early in this game.
Man, that's not good.
Yeah, they 9 hits through first 3 and 10 hits through the first 3 innings.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing in terms of getting it done. We'll
That's
see
phenomenal.
if they can get enough to hold it on and see what that means. I'm fascinating, and I will be keeping up with this throughout the evening personally myself. But let's call it a night and let folks get on their way, and they can tune in and pay even a little closer attention. Hopefully, they enjoy it, giving us updates, giving a framework what it looks like going into the baseball season, which will close things out for the athletic year of 2024-2025. This, again, is graduation season, whether it's high school and in terms of college graduations. That is interesting because this is the first year where students, all they know, I always go back to the time Charles told me about this when they were thinking about ending the SWAC championship game. That was a longer period of time, but it was over a 20-year period. So you actually had folks, generations of folks, that all they knew that the way that you end a football season is with a SWAC championship game. Well, this is the first year that you have 4 students. All they know is a 12-member SWAC that includes the latest edition of the members of the Florida schools, Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman. Drew, what are your closing thoughts?
I was gonna say, don't forget, Dr. Cavil, we still got some young men and young women who will be going on to the track nationals.
Oh,
so
yes.
We still got weeks that we still gonna have to cover this, and somebody gonna win that SWAC tournament next week. So we'll be pulling behind whoever wins it. Even if Jackson State wins it, we'll still be pulling behind them to represent the SWAC well. When they go into NCAAs. I'm just being real. Whoever
that's
wins,
true. That's what we do. That's what we do.
And if it's anywhere in my area, I'm going to go and support.
Yeah, and that is proof in the pudding because you have done it before. That's not just talk. Thank you for listening inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, come from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, A.D. Drew. We hope you enjoyed. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. We will be getting prepared for a SWAC baseball tournament and a champion coming out of that. And as Drew said, we do have the fact that you have folks that will be participating in the national, and somebody out of SWAC will make the College World Baseball tournament in terms of the field of 64. It'll be interesting to see what that looks like. Then before you know it, we get a quick little break, but then it'll be time for us to prepare for the media days, the circuit before, as Drew opened up the show and talked about, we're 100 days away from the MEAC SWAC Challenge, which will be fascinating as well. With that being said, follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. It's DrKenyattaCavil, inside the HBCU Sports Lab on Facebook and YouTube. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles.
Of course.
Drew.
Lecture.
Dismiss.